are looking to grow and looking that maybe there's some distress, maybe there's older buildings. And so partnering with the city to figure out what's that vision look like and helping that vision come to reality. Oftentimes it's, vacant pieces of land, older buildings, brown sites, you know, whether they're not in a position for repurpose, we kind of help instead of just throwing up some renderings and some site plans. We help the city kind of reimagine what that could be and help them engage to the community and what they really need. So we often just start with the relationship, start to figure out what the vision that you guys have, and then provide our expertise, whether it's design, construction, cost, budgeting, scheduling, or highest and best use value to that mission.
We are now working on a downtown master plan here in Cornelius. That is a really valuable opportunity, I think, to get some creativity going in it. And I need to tell you about this community meeting we've got coming up. You probably ought to drop in and give us your 2 cents on where this is going. But we do have a consultant working with us. There's a lot of citizen involvement, and we really hope our citizens will. I don't know the date. It's actually in the latter part of March. Turn out to our community room over at Town Hall and be a part of that because we want their input. But what we've realized, I think that most of our citizens are looking for is not to change the character of our town.
Sure.
It has a certain character. It's hard for me to ride down Catawba Avenue or Main Street and describe an architectural type or because I'm not an architect and I'm not technical when it comes to those kind of terms, but it does have a uniqueness. Cornelius has a uniqueness. Davidson certainly has a uniqueness, and Huntersville the same. And we're trying to build on that uniqueness here in Cornelius and keep the flavor of what we're all about and really what brought us to the dance. And that's why I'm so excited about what Cain Center for the Arts is doing with their restoration efforts. And we're going to talk in a little more detail about that when we come back from the next break. But I'm so excited about their opportunities to make something special there on Catawba Avenue. And you go a half a block away, and you've got this awesome, beautiful history museum in process. And the early stages are in motion as we speak. It's a historically designated building that would be the Cornelius High School Ag Building, future name Cornelius History Museum. It's going to really be an exciting time, I think, as we get that concept in place. Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam, and we'll be right back.
Don't go anywhere. We'll return with more of Mayor Woody Washam and About Town in just a moment on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Well, that wind's still kicking. Gusts 30 to 40 miles an hour as we get into our Thursday afternoon. Our sunshine is back, though. It's a much cooler day of weather. High temperatures only climbing into the mid-50s. Of course, with that wind, it'll feel more like the upper 40s for the afternoon. Overnight wind starts to relax a bit. We'll dip down into the mid-30s heading into our Friday morning, into the low 60s for Friday, with a few extra clouds to finish off the work week. That's your forecast with the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like iCats Public Transit.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Bin 110 in Cornelius presents live music Thursday through Saturday. The Ben Gatlin Duo, John Sullivan, and Retroflex headline 3 straight nights of live performances. Visit bin110.com for more information and their full upcoming music schedule. We'll see you this weekend at Bin 110. Friday night, Boatyard Lake Norman welcomes Mostly Crew, a trip ends Motley Crew. Tickets are available in advance or at the door. The Mostly Crew concert begins at 8:30 p.m. Friday night at Boatyard Lake Norman in Cornelius. The Plant House in Huntersville presents the 7th annual Plant Market Friday through Sunday. Spring is just around the corner and the Plant House is kicking off the season in style, including incredible deals, drink specials, and local vendors. Follow the Plant House in Huntersville on the socials for more info and exclusive discounts. Saturday night, the 500 Club in Statesville presents live music with Andy Buckner. This country artist blends honky-tonk, party anthems, and heartbreak healers. Enjoy live music at 6 p.m. Saturday at the 500 Club with the Andy Buckner performance. Speedway Motorsports is promoting the most affordable kids' tickets in professional sports. The campaign covers $10 tickets for the NASCAR Cup Series and free tickets to kids 12 and under for NASCAR Truck and Xfinity Series events across 14 race weekends in 2025. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com or Ticketmaster.com for more information and details. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Merlefest 2025, presented by Window World, returns April 24th through the 27th in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Hear the Avett Brothers, Bonnie Raitt, the Dead South, Watch House, Wyatt Floors, I'm With Her, Leftover Salmon, the Warren Treaty, the Steel Drivers, and many more. For tickets, visit merlefest.org.
About Town continues now. Here's your host, Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam, on 105.9 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
And we're back. Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam right here. Got a great show today going on as it relates to the opportunities we have in the town of Cornelius and probably up and down the Highway 115 for our beautiful downtowns to redevelop. I know Huntersville's got a major effort going on in that regard, and like the town of Cornelius, they need it as well, and they're off and running. Many of you have probably noted what Mooresville has done with some of their historic buildings downtown. Mooresville goes back in my lifetime. That was the big city you went to do your shopping. With the downtown Belks and lots of other retail opportunities there. It's changed some, but it's a beautiful job that they've done, and that's been going on for years, ever since I started my banking opportunities up in Mooresville about 35 years ago. It has really come a long way, and it does take some planning, and they have done that. So we were talking in the last part of the show about some of the neat things going on as it relates to some restoration efforts here in our town, mainly created by the Cain Center for the Arts and also the Cornelius History Museum opportunities that are presented to us as part of the old Cornelius High School agriculture building. So a lot of things to dream about, and as I mentioned earlier, my friend Paul Newton got him out of retirement. He was barely retired and helped us finish up Cain Center and get that thing open on time. Boy, that was quite a feat, Paul.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking down to the last day. But,
remember, Cain Center's only been open for 2 years, and look at the dramatic positive impact it's had on our region. And because of that, we knew that we'd be growing. We had a lot of conversation with our strategic planning meetings about what growth looked like. And suddenly we found ourselves needing a new spot for our ceramics program.
Exactly.
And we had a lot of conversation about what we might do, where we might go. The existing facility that we've leased for quite some time became unavailable, and they had a different vision for that building. And so we found ourselves quickly finding a solution because the ceramics program is tremendously popular.
Yeah,
it means
let's talk about
to a lot of people.
Let's talk about that a second, because that's what we're talking about, this retooling effort that is going on. This is the old Oak Street Mill. It was originally the Jim Yarn Mill, which is where my grandmother worked when I wasn't even born yet. And it's an incredible facility that's right in the midst of our downtown, and they're going through a reinventing process. And that's where this is coming from. But the good news about that is it spurred additional reinvention, which is what you're going to get ready to tell me about, right?
Well, exactly. When we found that we needed to have a new home for our ceramics program, we were caught somewhat flat-footed. We knew we would do something grand in the future, but suddenly we needed to do something faster.
Yeah, raising money after 2 years?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You know, the paint was barely dry, but we were already busting at the seams.
But the good news is the Cain Center is paid for.
That
I mean, we have no mortgage there,
we
right?
are very, very lucky, you know, with the support of state, local, and a lot of great friends of Cain. We opened the facility debt-free. So that is fantastic
And
from
that
an
wasn't
operational
easy.
standpoint. Not easy at all. It was the biggest fundraiser this town has ever seen.
Tell me about it.
And we're very, very pleased with the people and the organizations that help make that occur.
Oh, I know. Some real heroes out there.
Well, you know, the Cain Center's had such a positive impact on this area. And suddenly we were trying to figure out, well, what are we going to do next for a home? And we were very fortunate that just a block down the road, there were 3 houses for sale. 2 were in reasonable shape. The third one is not. But we decided that it would be better for us and better for the community if we owned something that we could rely on long term rather than finding another spot that we would rent and stay there for a while. And the great news is we wanted to save those houses. And there were other developers that looked at that area and thought, hey, I'll just knock it flat and start all over again. But the seller was very interested in talking to us because we expressed a need and a want to save those old homes. And so far, everything is going great. We have bought the land that includes those 3 houses on Catawba. 2 of the houses we're going to renovate and keep the street side facade the same. There's tremendous character in those 2 old homes and a lot of history with families in this region. And so we're pleased that we're keeping the look of the street side of those homes, and we're expanding and modernizing everything inside so that we'll have what'll be a really magical new facility for the ceramics program in one building and increased administrative offices for the other building. The old house on the corner is nearly falling down already, and we will take that down. And we're not sure what that corner lot will look like for a while, but we'll clean it up. Might be a little pocket park for a while. We haven't quite decided, but we're pretty excited about being part of the renovation of those 2 old homes. And then, of course, you've got me involved in the History Museum right around the corner. So
absolutely,
over the next couple of years, there's going to be a real dramatic change and improvement to some tired old facilities that we're going to breathe new life into.
And the neat part is it's right around the corner. The History Museum is right around the corner from this historic renovation on Catawba we're talking about. History Museum's on School Street, and it's right there on the grounds of Cornelius Elementary School. I mean, what a good placement that is to be right there on adjacent to the school grounds. Both of these projects are walkable from the Cornelius Elementary School, as is Cain Center.
And the exciting thing about the History Museum is we are working closely with the Historic Landmarks Commission, who want to make sure that we maintain the character of the exterior of the existing building. And they've asked us to introduce, because part of our renovation is to add an addition, put an addition on the south end to create it a code-compliant building. And so we've got a pretty exciting design for what's going on the south side to marry up to the existing look of the Cornelius Agriculture Building. And we're going through first steps to get that reviewed and approved. And so far, we've gotten a thumbs up verbally. So we're pretty excited about the progress that we're making on the History Museum. We're very excited about the progress that we're making for the Cain Center expansion, sculpting the future, as Justin Dion has coined it.
Awesome.
And once again, between the creation of the Cain Center, the expansion that we're enjoying just down the block, the creation of the History Museum around the corner, and pretty soon, Cornelius Elementary School is going to be totally rebuilt.
Right.
So a lot going on in a very small area that's pretty
Absolutely.
exciting.
Badly needed, though. So Branson, he said a magic word that I bet you deal with a lot, and that is code compliant. So how does that affect what you do with the reestablishment of some of these older structures and things? I bet you face that a lot, right?
Sure. I mean, code compliant can be a relative term. I mean, anytime you're doing any type of reuse or repurposing, I mean, even if it's a very newer building, there's code changes. And so, getting things back up to code is always a challenge, especially when you're talking about a 100-year-old building, right? So in the adaptive reuse space, one of the things that we try to focus on is that early feasibility study, right? So getting the structural engineers out to the site, doing a full, analysis of the site, what actually is code compliant, what's not. And then, meeting with the permitting department, the building department, oftentimes, especially in the adaptive reuse space, there are certain things that the relationship with the city is huge. Certain variances like ADA or, anything like that can, help that adaptive reuse transition into the repurposing of the actual site. But, it's always a challenge, especially when you have a lot of older buildings. There's a specific building I'm working on right now. It's 115 years old. And there's a elevator in there that's about 80 years old. So, I did not go on the elevator.
Smart guy there.
But that's something that, will have to be completely code compliant, fire suppression systems, ADA, electrical, water, anything like that is a major thing, especially with your site, civil, any type of sewer improvements. That's a huge, huge deal that oftentimes having that relationship with the city helps in repurposing those buildings.
Yeah, that was a good point, Paul. I know that during your process through Cain and also with what you're faced with the renovations you're working on now, working with the city is part of the formula, and you do that well. I know that, but how would you evaluate that process? Are we doing our job at the city and county levels?
Well,
be careful what your answer.
Yeah. There's a lot of intentionality about what city growth should look like, town growth should look like, and I think that's very smart. And there's been a lot of conversation about where we are versus where we want to go. It's hard because everyone has a different opinion of what growth should look like.
Yes, they do.
And
I can write a book on that.
I know you can. And everyone defaults to traffic and, some of the challenges of growth. But I came from a small town in Vermont where there's zero growth. And I can tell you this is a whole lot more exciting. And the challenges.
If you're not growing at least a little bit, you're dying, right?
That's true.
30 seconds.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, that's something that we deal with a lot, and certainly calculated, well planned, and not overgrowth is a key. And transportation drives so much of that. It really does.
No question.
It's a tough balance that you've got to keep because we want jobs. We want our people to be working here. So, Cornelius, Mayor Woody Washam right here, and we will be back for our second half shortly.
There's more About Town with Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam on the way from 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, that wind's still kicking. Gusts 30 to 40 miles an hour as we get into our Thursday afternoon. Our sunshine is back, though. It's a much cooler day of weather. High temperatures only climbing into the mid-50s. Of course, with that wind, it'll feel more like the upper 40s for the afternoon. Overnight wind starts to relax a bit. We'll dip down into the mid-30s heading into our Friday morning, into the low 60s for Friday, with a few extra clouds to finish off the work week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Spring style is just around the corner. Come explore Nina's Boutique in downtown Cornelius. From vibrant prints to classic staples, we've got everything you need from sizes extra small to 2X. Elevate your wardrobe with a splash of new season flair and our carefully curated accessories at Nina's.
Year-end specials, Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville. How about this for a bargain? 2024 Chevrolet Equinoxes. These are the LT models as low as $22,770. We have got over 25 of these vehicles in stock. You pick the color, drive it home today. That is a Randy Marion Chevrolet Statesville special. Again, $22,770. Only a couple thousand miles on these vehicles. Come see them today. Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
With 5 area locations, Desco is your go-to resource for electrical supplies. Albemarle, Mooresville, Salisbury, Statesville, and Lexington. No matter where the job takes you, you're sure to be close to a Desco. Shop now at DescoInc.com.
Caring for a sick child or aging parent? Visit EquityHealthCares.com. They bring expert, personalized care wherever you need it. In office, virtually, or at your home. Equity Health Primary Care or healthcare that fits your life? Visit EquityHealthCares.com.
Hi, this is Susan. I'm excited to let you know that Lake Mountain Coffee is now available for private events. Our beautiful historic building with its 360-degree mezzanine has hosted many private parties, catered diners, and even an actual wedding. Please contact Andy at 704-252-1886 for more information. Thank you so much.
The button pushing stops here.
WSIC. Local starts here.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. The nation's biggest department store company is the latest retailer to say its profit and sales this year will likely be worse than originally thought. Macy's warns that due to external uncertainties such as inflation, especially for food and housing, customers will hold back on purchases both in-store and online. Macy's joins other chains including Walmart, Target, and Best Buy with similar warnings. Even after posting strong holiday earnings and sales, Macy's stock is falling 3%. In an effort to preserve its profit margins and keep from passing too many higher costs along to customers, the self-proclaimed everyday low price leader is asking for help. Sources tell Bloomberg Walmart is asking some kitchenware and clothing suppliers in China to cut their prices in amounts that would partly or fully offset the Trump tariffs on Chinese imports, meaning they would shoulder the full cost. So far, few takers. Wall Street's index is sliding, although bouncing off early session lows. Dow losing 0.25%, NASDAQ and S&P down 0.5%. Andrew O'Day, Bloomberg Radio.
Who is this? This is 105.9 100.7.
WSIC. Local starts here.
Now, more about town with Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
And we're back. Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam here. Welcome back to the second half of our show. You know, there's a lot of things that we have to put in the formula of the equation as it relates to growth, and quality of life is a huge driver that is paramount, I think, in that formula that we have to balance properly. We talk about our quality of life here in Cornelius quite a bit. I think it's dampened a little bit by some of the challenges we have, including our traffic. We're on some good directives to get that fixed. It'll never be perfect, but it's a function. I've said this quite a bit, and many people confront me and don't believe it, but it is a true fact. You can go back and check the statistics, the population statistics, but Cornelius over the past 4 years has grown 0.6%. 0.6%. That is really no growth, but it's a little bit of growth. And, we do have some things coming out of the grounds, but at the same time, that's pretty low growth. What's happening, the impact is coming from our neighbors, i.e. Huntersville, Denver, lake communities outside of our town limits, Mooresville, Davidson to a much smaller extent, but those folks drive on our roads. They cut through on Catawba Avenue, and it takes up space. Every car impacts that. So that is a driver on a lot of people's attitude about our growth, and we've got a lot of NIMBY attitudes going on around in our town, and I get that. If something's going on in my backyard, I'd sure want to know, and I'm not in for taking one for the team on that. We got to get that right. But there's a balance between economic growth and community growth that we need to be pretty sensitive about. And Branson, what's your opinion about that? How do you help your communities that you work with balance that particular formula?
Yeah, sure. So you mentioned something earlier. If you're not growing, you're dying, right? So I think when a town looks at growth, you can look at it from a bunch of different perspectives and how you track that 0.6% growth. I mean, you can look at it, how much is the population growing? How much tax revenue is the city having? How many businesses are moving to the city? And I think all of those fall in the bucket of the economic growth, right? Which then turns into economic infrastructure growth, where your roads, your water sewer needs to kind of come into play there. But then you have the community growth dynamic. And I think when you look at a town in their growth metrics and how they really want to grow, this is important in establishing their vision, right? So if a developer comes to the town and says, hey, I want to put this Publix or this, whatever, oftentimes people will look at that as like, okay, well, there's a lot of traffic, or this, if it's a multifamily complex, oh, there's a lot of people. Then how is that going to impact? Or I've got this big multifamily complex in my backyard. I think that is more towards that economic side, right? And looking at, okay, how are we generating more tax revenue for the city? But I think in the approach of the community growth standpoint, it's how do you engage into the community? How do you knit the fabric of the community that's already there? And then how do you weave that into modern day, right? So if we look at a communal growth standpoint, whereas a town like Cornelius is, 80% residential, 20% commercial, I think that, you're looking at a place where a lot of people are staying. Many people are not actually working there. They're actually leaving the city to work. And then how many of them are actually playing, right? And then how can you transform a city for the population within that town to do all three? And so I think if you look at that community impact and seeing how can we add more, restaurants, how can we add more open air markets, how can we add more, and you can do those very on a low scale, right? So like doing farmers markets or things like that, just to start training that community to start figuring out how do we stay here rather than leave. And then that slowly can transition into new buildings, adaptive reuse, making, an older building, maybe the town owns or developer owns, and then engaging that, that farmer's market. Oftentimes it looks like old brown sites, right? So, I know you and I have talked briefly about some of that stuff, sites that are massive, old shopping malls, right? So like engaging in those old vacant buildings that technically they don't pencil, and then being patient with the money, right? So like having the developer come in with a vision of being patient and not just trying to turn and burn that project, and figuring out, where do they want to make the largest impact? And then having everybody on the same page with that, I think that allows for both the economic growth and the community growth on both sides of the spectrum, rather than just figuring out how can we get more businesses in, how can we generate more revenue.
Well, you made a really good point. Cornelius is out of balance as it relates to our commercial versus residential mix, if you will. We're probably a little worse than you described. We're more like, 83% or 84% residential. Now, I do admit that some of the homes out on the lake are more like office buildings.
Sure. Yeah.
So that doesn't hurt, but at the same time, they don't create jobs.
Sure.
And, a fact of the matter is, and we've studied this quite a bit, is that 90% of the people that live in Cornelius work somewhere else.
Exactly.
They drive, they get on the roads. That's part of our problem.
Yes.
We don't have enough jobs in our town to allow them to either bike to work or walk on our greenways. We've got a beautiful greenway system here that it's about 13.1 miles, and it circles our town.
Sure.
And if we had the right plan going on to allow folks to get to work in a different way than actually jumping in a car,
sure,
it would make a difference. And so those are all the challenges that we think about and we're faced with, and that we're trying to drive those numbers in a little better place, because it does convert into revenue for the town, and
Absolutely.
You cannot ignore that. It's not all about the revenue, but it is somewhat about the revenue, because the less revenue you get from the commercial aspects of what's going on out there, the more impact it's going to have on residential.
Sure.
So we have done a stellar job in this town, and yes, I'm bragging about it, to have probably the lowest tax rate you could find anywhere in Eastern or anywhere in North Carolina, pretty much per capita. 17.3 cents is pretty low. People don't get that because Mecklenburg County is on the other end of the spectrum.
Sure.
So you got, when you live here, you've got to pay both city and county tax. So that sort of mitigates it a little bit, but we do our part for sure. We very, very efficiently run town, and it allows us to do that. So anyway, that's another challenge, but it does come into the equation and to the formula as we move forward. The things that we're doing in regards to, this restoration, all that's going to do is drive some additional opportunities, I think, to get interested in our town and relocate here. So I'm more than excited about those opportunities for the restoration, because they're going to bring more people. You got more people, you got more opportunity for action and employment and retail and entertainment, and the list goes on and on. Cain Center, Paul, has many weeks now performances on Thursday nights. They have all kinds of action going on with private meetings now. I've just had 2 private meetings there in the last 2 days. So it's pretty incredible that to think that not only are they bringing theater and shows and entertainment to a pretty high number of folks. So here you go. You've got probably 500 people, counting staff and volunteers, servicing a particular show of Cain. I'm assuming it's sold out. Not all of them are completely sold out, but many of them are. So on a given Saturday, let's say you've got 2 performances. We had that setting in the last couple of weeks down there.
Yes.
You have a 2:00 show, and you've got a 7:30 or 8:00 show. And for 500 people, 1,000 people, for those 2 shows to be filing in and out of Cain Center with nowhere to go.
Well, that's a challenge that we have, and it's something I hear about quite a bit.
And it's a good problem, because the only way's up here.
That's right.
So we do have a few places that folks can go, and I'm grateful for OTPH, the shops in Antiquity, the restaurants in Antiquity, what's to come with a couple of breweries scheduled to reopen. But man, what opportunity do we have to take us to the next level as it relates to entertainment types of opportunity. Mills Market's on the way, and that is certainly more than exciting to see that.
When people come to Cain, they want to have a period of time of fun.
They do.
And that includes what they do in Cain and also outside.
They're going to either do it in Cornelius or somewhere else.
That's correct.
That's the way it works out.
There's
so,
limited opportunity that we have around Cain for right now.
This is Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam, and we're going to take a short break and be right back.
We'll be back with more of About Town, hosted by Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam, straight ahead on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, that wind's still kicking. Gusts 30 to 40 miles an hour as we get into our Thursday afternoon. Our sunshine is back, though. It's a much cooler day of weather. High temperatures only climbing into the mid-50s. Of course, with that wind, it'll feel more like the upper 40s for the afternoon. Overnight wind starts to relax a bit. We'll dip down into the mid-30s heading into our Friday morning, into the low 60s for Friday, but a few extra clouds to finish off the work week. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Bin 110 in Cornelius presents live music Thursday through Saturday. The Ben Gatlin Duo, John Sullivan, and Retroflex headline 3 straight nights of live performances. Visit bin110.com for more information and their full upcoming music schedule. We'll see you this weekend at Bin 110. Friday night, Boatyard Lake Norman welcomes Mostly Crew, a tribute to one of the 80s hard rockin' bands, Motley Crue. Tickets are available in advance or at the door. The Mostly Crew concert begins at 8:30 p.m. Friday night at Boatyard Lake Norman in Cornelius. The Plant House in Huntersville presents the 7th annual Plant Market Friday through Sunday. Spring is just around the corner and the Plant House is kicking off the season in style, including incredible deals, drink specials, and local vendors. Follow the Plant House in Huntersville on the socials for more info and exclusive discounts. Saturday night, the 500 Club in Statesville presents live music with Andy Buckner. This country artist blends honky-tonk, party anthems, and heartbreak healers. Enjoy live music at 6 p.m. Saturday at the 500 Club with the Andy Buckner performance. Speedway Motorsports is promoting the most affordable kids' tickets in professional sports. The campaign covers $10 tickets for the NASCAR Cup Series and free tickets to kids 12 and under for NASCAR Truck and Xfinity Series events across 14 race weekends in 2025. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com or Ticketmaster.com for more information and details. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Merlefest 2025, presented by Window World, returns April 24th through the 27th in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Hear the Avett Brothers, Bonnie Raitt, The Dead South, Watch House, Wyatt Floors, I'm With Her, Leftover Salmon, The Warren Treaty, The Steel Drivers, and many more. For tickets, visit merlefest.org.
We're back with more of About Town with Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Cornelius Mayor Woody Washam, and we're back for our last quarter of the show. We've had a good conversation today, but one more question that's sort of lingering in my mind is, Branson, when you walk into a city and you see what you see and look for that vision, how do you accumulate that vision? Where does that come from? It's not just elected people, is it? How do you gather that?
What do you mean by elected people?
Well, elected officials that run the city. I mean, it's a matter of, it's not our town.
Sure.
Cornelius is not my town. Some people think it is, but it's not my town.
Sure.
And we want folks to have input and opportunities to tell us their vision of the town. So how do you gather all that? How do you go about that?
Honestly, I think it's just being ingrained into the community, figuring out, having conversations, going to the local shops, figuring out what people want. There's a difference in what people want, what they need, and what they would like to see, right? And oftentimes what people would like to see doesn't paper, right? So we have to address that first. And then, what they need and what they want are, obviously two separate things, but I think there's a balance to align those two. But it just starts with just being ingrained in the community, understanding who are the players in town, who wants to be here, how can you leverage, what the community already has to bring in newer people, right? So oftentimes community can be very pigeonholed with not wanting new folks to come in town, and that's not an inherently bad thing. Because their community is very sacred and you want to keep that, but you also have to provide and open that communication for them to understand that it's part of growth. You oftentimes, if you want a community to stay how it is, it's going to stay how it is with the people, and then the people retire, they leave, they die off, whatever that looks like, and you have to have new folks to come in with new visions, and it's a difficult challenge. But again, I think if you have people with new visions that are coming in, whether they're elected officials or not, and actually sit down with those people and get on their level, whether it's, I live up in Statesville. So, sitting down with Richard at the fly shop is super important because we might just talk about fly fishing for 3 hours. But I'm getting to know who he is, why he's there, how long he's been there. And then, he then introduces me to the gun shop owner and then the coffee owner. And then that just slowly transitions. But it starts with the relationship and opening that communication, because you don't want to just go into a new city and say, what do you want to see? I want to come and change it, right? It starts with that relationship and then building that trust over time.
Yeah, it's a process. It's a defined process, and folks like you that are professionals, I've seen it operate. It works. It really does. And at the end, it's kind of like our state legislature. There's a lot of sausage making along the way, but hopefully at the end of the day, you come out with some pretty good material and pretty good futuristic kind of plans that everybody gets excited about. And that's kind of what we're what we're talking about here. But towns like ours, they sort of sit stagnant for quite a while. Ours did that. You'll have different groups of elected officials that have different visions. And, an example in our town was many, many years ago, probably 12, 14 years ago, somebody had the vision of Antiquity, which is now a major residential center in our town. I think there are probably 13 to 1,400 residential units there. Well, that's pretty big. So there's a lot of people that live there, and a lot of people have expectations about what goes on in that area. One of the things that our town has given our citizens the opportunity, two things that come to mind that's pretty strong directives to get people the opportunity to provide input, and that is bond referendums. So I think back in 2013, we had a $4 million item on the bond. That's the first year I ran for public office, 2013. It was called Downtown Redevelopment. Well, that $4 million got translated into an art center. And we went through months and months and months of trying to figure out what that meant. It means a lot of different things to a lot of people. And I think that group did a pretty good job in getting it like it needed to be. And it wasn't easy. It was not easy to get town leaders on board. It was not easy to get all the citizens back on board. But the fact of the matter is they voted for that. The citizens voted pretty overwhelmingly for those downtown redevelopment bonds. And here we are with Cain Center. That was the beginnings of Cain Center, the citizens of this town. Well, another aspect of that was just this past November when our citizens turned around and went to the polls again and voted for a $20 million bond referendum to build parks, buy land, keep the parks we have updated. And that was a nice referendum and endorsement for where we are. So that tells you that most of our citizens are progressively minded to want to see good things happening in their town. And that's been quite a journey, but outgrowths to that come in creating a successful Cain Center that moves in the direction of expansion. It moves in the direction of encouraging more business and more entertainment, more opportunities to serve the folks that come in and out of that center. And but the History Museum has its place too. It's different, and what's different about it is I think it's important, and we're doing a little bit of that at Cain with their next project, and we're doing a lot of it with the History Museum right half a block away, and that is figuring out the fabric of a community. What brought you to the dance?
Sure.
And so you've got to have a significant history level to know that, and people want to know that. People that live here want to know those kinds of things because I get those questions all the time. They know I've been here forever, so I get the questions like, "Where do I go to learn more about the town I've just moved to?" And I don't have a good answer for them right now, but we're getting ready to have some really good answers to let them see and help create the fabric of the future. So I've got a lot more dreams about.
So much for my retirement. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so much for that retirement. I've got a lot more dreams about our opportunities with some restoration projects that I could just see myself there if we can ever find the money to really do it right. One of the things that the town's doing to restore some of this uniqueness, I think, is creating a festival street. That festival street will run from the intersection of Highway 115 and Catawba Avenue to up to School Street and Church Street. that's where we hope it. That's where I hope it'll run. Right now, it's designed to run to Meridian Street, but it needs to go another block now because we've got more action going on.
We're
out there.
growing.
So yeah, the arts district is growing, and that's what we call that particular area now. So, but that'll be a significant part of our downtown plan, and so it's going to be a game changer for sure.
Well, in the growth plan that was started recently, I think was a major step forward in helping the community understand what the future could look like.
Exactly.
And they had a lot of input on that growth plan.
Right.
And so it gives us the ability to look at what we have and what we want and marry up rules and dreams at the same time and try to come up with some creative solutions.
Right. One of my friends put a picture out on Facebook recently about, well, actually, it was pretty much from the Peach Pie Factory, one of my favorite places, right on the corner of Meridian and Catawba there, on down to incorporate the rendering of the New Mills Market and include the Potts Barbershop. And his comment was, "Oh my, we'll never be the same." And I went, "No, we won't." And is that totally bad? Not totally, but you want to keep some of that identity that was born here and is in that fabric. You've got to maintain that to show folks how we got where we are. So it's an interesting journey that we're all on here, but we've got some more traveling to do.
And designs of current projects marry history and future at the same time.
They really do.
We're doing that with the History Museum, that beautiful old building that we're breathing new life into. Doing it with the two houses on Catawba that have been there for such a long time, something everyone's looked at as they've driven by decade after decade, and they're going to look better than ever when we're done.
Exactly. Well, there's one element that I've sort of cooled off on, and we're not going to get into depth about this topic, but Cornelius was known for its tree of knowledge. That tree of knowledge was located near the intersection of Catawba and 115. And, talk about if it wasn't known around that tree of knowledge there, if it wasn't known to be going on in our town, then it wasn't going on, because it was a centerpiece for meeting up, discussing how you should do things, and kind of like Potts Barbershop as well. So we have some unique opportunities. And Branson, I appreciate your insight. We're not done with you yet. We do need some more feedback. I can't wait to see and hear about some of your future projects, and appreciate you being with us today.
Thanks
and
for having me.
Certainly appreciate all the work you have going on.
Always a pleasure,
and,
Mayor.
You tell a good story, and I don't know what we would have done here had you not retired.
Serving you better than ever before.
Cornelius, Mayor Woody Washam, and we're about town, and see you next time.
Got a Toyota? Get it serviced at Quality Car